What is a secret that could potentially ruin your life if your family or friends found out? Decent shot I won't be alive by Christmas. 2 years ago, I was living a dream 10 years in the making, traveling the entire world and working remotely. I'm now back in my hometown taking care of my blind, brittle T1 diabetic mom and dad who just had 11 strokes this year. I have a biopsy scheduled for Monday. It doesn't look good. I'm not afraid for myself, I'm afraid for my wife and my parents. Edit, thanks for the warm wishes and personal experiences. My wife does know and has been a rock through this process. I'm keeping it from my parents currently because it would make things much more difficult for them. And, selfishly, myself.
I gave a baby up for adoption and didn't tell anyone. Didn't tell my family or friends that I was even pregnant. I lied to my work and said my baby died because I needed to take leave to recover and didn't want to answer uncomfortable questions about why. A dead baby gets no questions. I'm already fat, so it was easy to hide. I didn't gain too much weight, so I didn't even need to buy new clothes. I just think everyone would be disappointed in me for not even trying. I left the father before I knew because he was extremely abusive. I didn't feel mentally prepared to try and raise a child on my own and was terrified he'd find out and try to get custody. He would have been the worst father and likely abusive in many ways, and I really didn't want to have to fight against that or attempt for child support. I couldn't afford a child at all. I can barely support me and a cat. But I make too much money for any assistance, even with a child. I work from home, but I cannot have a crying baby in the background, and I cannot afford daycare. It was just logically impossible. My family could not or would not help me, or would help me but use it against me later. After a certain point, I called an adoption agency and they explained it to me. I just felt it was best for the kid. It kills me every day I'm not taking care of them. But they have a nice family now, who really wanted a sibling for their child and had fertility issues. I know a little piece of me is out there, but no one else that knows me in real life knows.
I am not the truck driver they think I am. I own the company. It's a secret because they are insanely financially irresponsible and ridiculously entitled. Would just lower my quality of life and disrupt my peace dealing with them being vultures 25/8. My son's not mine. Possibly. But he is and always will be. I refuse to do a DNA test. His mom admits it's probably not. He's literally sitting right next to me playing video games with his cousin or brother. Wouldn't ruin my life. I just don't want him to have to deal with that. I tried 4 times to kill myself. Now I'm too much afraid of the pain, so I don't try anymore. I just wait and pray for a brutal accident when I take the car or to be fast killed for anything. Every day I smile and make a lot of joke on my job. I hug my daughter like everything was okay and keep waiting for the death. If people around know this, they will annoy me so much that I would just leave any social life. So this will ruin everything I try hide. Received a large amount of wealth. Nobody shall ever know aside from my parents, who have successful careers, businesses. Would probably stir up a lot of shit because most of them suck at the financial aspect of life. I live like I didn't get a dime. For context, I'm a guy. When I was a kid, my older brother, who was 3 years older, crossed very serious personal boundaries with me and manipulated me until I thought I was okay with it. As teenagers, we kept repeating those secret, unhealthy patterns. It made me question who I was for years and pushed me into a bad addiction to adult content. It continued on and off after he moved out, then slowly stopped as we got older, saw each other less, and I got married. I'm married. I come from a Middle Eastern family where I'm expected to get married under Sharia law, which is impossible since my husband is not Muslim. I couldn't care less and married my husband civilly. Guys, if your phone also keeps saying there is no storage left and your gallery is packed with receipts, screenshots, duplicates, and random stuff, Whoosh Smart Cleaner actually helps. I used it to find huge videos and photos I took a couple of years ago and completely forgot about. They were just sitting there, taking up space, syncing to iCloud, and I was basically paying to store things I did not need anymore. Plus, after cleaning it up, my phone felt noticeably less sluggish. And the best part is that you do not have to sit there choosing every photo by hand. You just swipe left or right, like in a dating app. Delete or keep. That way you clean your camera array quickly without all the extra hassle. Link in the description. Because why revolve my life around rules I don't abide by anyway? Anyway, since my family still lives in the Middle East and I barely talk to them or see them, I just don't see the point in telling them the truth that we're married, so they don't harass me or my husband or try to sabotage my life. My net worth just hit $1 million. My husband of 30 years left me for an online girlfriend he'd never met in person and then took an early retirement to avoid paying alimony. I got my foot in the door at a high-tech company despite my age and significant employment history gap. It was a good fit. I got fast track for promotion, they were generous with bonuses, 401k matching, RSUs, and the company's stock price has skyrocketed with the AI boom. The ex still refuses to work, is currently living with his mother, and was dumped by his online girlfriend. If he had any idea what I was making, he'd come after me for alimony. At that point, it would make financial sense to quit the job I love and either retire or find less stressful, lower-paying work. So I live quietly and frugally, and everyone thinks I'm barely scraping by after the divorce. Most of my friends and family know I served in combat in Iraq. Some of them know that I was involved in some of the hardest fighting of the whole war, but they have no idea what that experience was like or what kind of person I was back then, and I don't plan for them to ever find out. I went full hippie when I got out. Cut contact with all but one guy from my unit, including my then-girlfriend, met and married a liberal hippie chick, got fat, had kids, and embraced dadhood. I've mostly kept my immediate family, ex-wife and kids, away from the family I grew up with, and I never even let my kids meet the one guy I did keep in touch with before he passed, though I regret that one. But 25-year-old me was an honestly horrible person, with horrible views who would have been a danger to anyone around him if I hadn't realized how much I legit hated myself. When the time to re-enlist came up and my fears of dying as the villain in everyone else's story overcame my desire to stick by my buddy's sides. And I still feel guilty as shit about not re-upping.
My life is ruined in slow-mo, and there's precious nothing I can do besides burning out trying to find work. Friends? They already left long ago. A perpetually overworked and broke nobody isn't interesting to be around. My FILL has made my husband 70% beneficiary of his estate. Their daughter, my husband's sister, is getting 30% because she is an entitled transactional shit. She's almost 50, but thinks her parents are still responsible for her financially if she needs help. She makes six figures and has no debt, so she never truly needs help. She has no perspective. I actually asked him to make it 50-50 because this will cause horrific drama when he dies. But he refused because he wants to feel like he's getting back at her. He is too cowardly to cut her off now. His solution is to sidestep the drama by placing it on our shoulders. Corrected.
I know a guy who wrote some kind of SSD management software and licensed it to a couple tech companies. He went from living in a run-down single-bedroom apartment to a huge, secluded luxury cabin in one of the most expensive parts of the PNW. His family has absolutely no clue. They didn't bother visiting him before and still don't, so they never found out. He's terrified that someday they'll find out because they're a bunch of alcoholic leeches.
My mom's late husband was not the man she thinks he was. When I was 14, we were playing darts in the garage and drinking. Then he started a strange adult conversation and told me a story from when he was young with very personal details. After that, he made an unmistakable suggestion that scared and disgusted me. I said I needed to use the restroom, went inside, and went to bed. We never talked about it again, and he died that summer after complications from surgery. It would not ruin my life, but it would ruin my relationship with my mom and family. I am male. My brother had text messages and screenshots saved from when my stepdad was harassing me in a deeply inappropriate way. When my brother died, I took all of his flash drives, hard drives, and anything else like that. My stepdad had already died before him. I know if my other siblings found out, it would not be pretty. I would rather be disliked as a little thief than have that truth come out. That my SO and I worked ourselves up from around $20K net worth 10 years ago to over $1.5 million today. Both our families are very financially irresponsible. As someone from a poor family, I can tell you poor people can sometimes be some of the greediest, most materialistic motherfuckers because they get into a eat or be eaten mindset. Apparently, it is not normal to have an inner voice giving a constant monologue about how worthless I am and how my wife and kid would be better off in the long run without me. Go figure. I legitimately had to hide from my wife for years that I no longer believed in our religion. We were both very religious when we got married, and if she knew I had lost my faith, she should have divorced me. It was terrifying to let her know. But I finally told her, we had long discussions, and she told me that she had been doubting for years too.
So I can't give legal advice because I'm not a lawyer, but I think you're probably okay. You got that job after your divorce, so your ex is not entitled to any of that money. Talk to a lawyer first, obviously, but he will get laughed out of court if he tries to come after you for alimony. I did adult live stream work for a while and made a lot of money. I told my mom and sister, but I would be fired if my job ever found out. My husband and I have been dating another married couple for years. I make movies with Green and Knowles in my backyard. They have names and backstories and a lot of drama. I do all the voiceover work myself. If I won the $1 billion lottery, a bunch of my family would not even get invited to the party. The close family would get a nice boost. would really stir the pot when 1/9 cousins benefits handsomely while 8/9 get nothing. I don't hate any of them, but if you have never been to my house and I don't even know what your kids' names are, let alone recognize them. I'm from an insanely conservative family. My parents had an abortion before I was born. My father couldn't handle it and drank himself to death a few years later. No one knows that I know. If it came out, it would kill my grandmother. I'm not severely bipolar or schizophrenic. There's nothing more than autism and ADHD, and the charming and grooming of a talented liar. Mom doesn't take care of me. She's my legal guardian because the county judge is her friend. When I said Munchausen by proxy that one time, I was telling the truth. Reading this makes me very glad that I'm not harboring any such secrets, although I'm jealous of the lucky bastards who are wealthy and hiding it. Okay, it wouldn't ruin my life, but it would be awkward. At 23, after spending a decade trying to think of men romantically, sexually, I realized I wasn't interested in them and came out as a lesbian to my mom and brother. I only told the two of them, but I guess they told a bunch of family members, and so I have no idea who all was told. But now, at 37, after having spent over a decade trying to think of women romantically, sexually, I think I'm just not interested in anyone. But it's too weird to uncome out, especially because I don't even know who was told. It's simpler for them to just go on thinking I'm a lesbian with no game. I have just over $500,000 USD in a hidden bank account. I'm 42 with no kids and a greedy family. Sucks to suck. Thanks for watching. Tell me in the comments which story you like the most, and make sure to watch the other videos too. There are more good stories there.